So this is our depiction of the warrior archetype. This archetype is in transit from more or less December 31st to January 4th. In human design, we call this the gate of the fighter. In the I Ching, this is the hexagram of opposition. In the gene keys, this is the frequency band from the shadow of struggle to the city of honor, and the human pathway is perseverance. This is not only for theory, it is for more awareness so that we can embody more of our true self, coming back to ourselves. We're doing all these systems so that we can actually make them part of our lives. So here we're first looking at this archetype from an I Ching perspective. So we're looking at the wheel where we have 8 different elements around the year. This is the I Ching, the Book of Changes. So right now we have the lake trigram on the bottom for all these archetypes. And that's the energy, that is the foundational energy for all of these gates. So in this specific case, we have clinging fire over Joyous Lake. When we have fire over fire, that becomes Jinky 30. When we have lake over lake, that becomes Jinko hexagram 58. So we can say that the combination of those two energies is what's making up this hexagram. So the shadow of struggle is desiring satisfaction. The gift of perseverance is the lightness of vitality, and the city of honor is the rapture of bliss. You have these in the Living Library on the Jinky websites as well. Some of them I play with the prepositions so that it feels right for me, but they're good. So here we're looking at the gates inside of the astrology wheel. So we are right now in Capricorn, quite in the beginning. This is the archetype of the wise elder, the teacher, and our ancestors. It's service to others through the grounded intent to persevere planet Earth. It's cardinal Earth. So actually the first time in the wheel that we meet Earth is in fixed Earth in Taurus. The second time is in mutable Earth in Virgo. And the third time is in cardinal Earth in Capricorn. Ashley and I are doing things every month in the inner circle. And there's also going to be a free event for everyone next year where we're going to play with the archetype, we could say, of the season, or the zodiac signs of the season. And if you're in the inner circle, then you are going to also have a Q&A and you have a workshop with Ashley. So there are some extra things if you're in the inner circle. And we love to combine the archetypes from astrology, the elements from astrology, the modalities from astrology together with the archetypes, because we get to know the archetypes in a deeper way when we can add those other qualities to them. So Capricorn is the trunk and roots that provide organic structure, reach into the lineage of our ancestors. And you can see here that the 10th sign, Capricorn, is connected to the 10th house, and Saturn is the ruler. We are in the quarter of mutation when the purpose is fulfilled through transformation. All these hexagram has a binary of 2 yang lines on the bottom. It's about death, transformation, rebirth. And here we have the body graph. So we are in the root center where we have 9 different fuels. This is a pressure and a motor center. It has to do with foundation and stability. The shadow is stress. The gift is drive, and the city is evolution. Like we said before, this is the gate of the fighter. And here are the other archetypes. So these are 9 different fuels. In the gene keys, a lot of those are in the codon ring of seeking. Here we have the harmonic gate. So we are connecting the root center to the splenic center. This is the channel of struggle. This is a design of stubbornness. It's a projected channel. Your life is an archetypal hero's journey against overwhelming odds. The goal is to remain yourself and go your own way, no matter what others might say of you. Stand up for yourself and fight the good fight. I recognize this in my own life. This is the only channel that I have that is only on the personality side. It's my moon and my Jupiter. This is my south node. I feel like I do this most of the time, but sometimes I feel corrupted by the not self of my completely open emotional center and my completely open ego center. And that's when I forget to stand up for myself. And then I'm living this out in the shadow of struggle, but it doesn't really lead to something meaningful or something with purpose. The keynotes for the Daredevil: purpose, psyche, and myth. the keynote for the warrior, tension, battle, and higher values. When we look at the process, so always when we have two harmonic gates that are meeting in a channel, we have a process. And that process is a combination of the gates, but it becomes more than just the gates. So that's why when you have a gate that's hanging and meeting somebody else's hanging gate, that's an electromagnetic, because it becomes so much more with the other side. So here, when we have purposeless and struggle, that is the same as strife. When we have totality and perseverance, that is the same as purpose. And when we have immortality and honor, that's the same as victory. So if you have the whole channel in your own body graph, or maybe somebody close to you, really look at this from Integral Human Design as the frequency band for the whole entire process. And those words are also good. Like say you have 3 channels. So then you can go to the Living Library or in Unlock Your Design. If you're a yearly member, you have all the courses and everything in there, all the teachings. Then you will have that middle word, the gift word for all 3 channels. If you have 3 channels, if you have 8 channels, you'll have all the gift frequency word, because those are very important. So in my life, I have the 3828. Then I know that purpose is a super important word for me. And here we have the programming partners. So in my case, like I said, I have the 38 in my south node. That means that I'm also going to have the 39. Because when we have the nodes, we always have programming partners. When we have something in our incarnation cross or activation sequence, we always have programming partners. So those are the 2 places in the chart where you will find that. These are opposites in the wheel. So we have the 38 in Capricorn, as we said. We have the 39 in Cancer. And they are also mirror opposites when it comes to the lines inside of the hexagram. So for each and every line, we're going to have the yin line and the yang line. So we have struggle and provocation, perseverance and dynamism, and honor and liberation. And here we go back to the channel and the circuitry. So I often say that the circuitry is so important to know, because that is what the gates, the archetypes, care about. And that is something that can get lost in the gene keys, because we don't have a map like the body graph to see what are the archetypes, what are the gates or the gene keys that care about the same thing. So for me, this is super, super important. There are 3 big groups of circuitry, which is individual circuitry, care about your own empowerment. There is tribal circuitry. It's the support of each other and the tribe for the survival of the material plane. And then there's collective circuitry, which is look at what has been, either the pattern or the experience, and then have a way of improving that pattern and go forward in a way that has more wisdom and that has a better way of moving forward. So there are 2 different collective circuitry types, the abstract and the logical. So logical patterns, so sensing back into the past and see what those experiences can lead to in terms of learning and moving forward. But here we are in the individual circuitry. And like I said before, the keynote here is empowerment. There is also a lot of melancholy in here. So these gates are going to have a bit of that risk of depression. And that comes from the former channel here, the 360, where there is fuel in the root center, there is energy in the sacral center, but at the 360, we never really know when the pulse is coming. And in between pulse, there's like nothing happening. So for many of those gates, it can feel like a void, it can feel like deep melancholy, it can feel like depression. And then suddenly there is a spark, there is a creativity, there is a breath, and something shifts. But it's not something that we can decide over. You can't decide over creativity. It's something that's going to come, and you're a vessel for it when it's there. So just to learn that if you have a lot of individual circuitry, there's going to be a feeling often of melancholy. There can be a feeling of aloneness, that nobody understands you. And the most important thing is to accept the inner weather, and to know that when you are accepting it, there's always that possibility of creativity, of the spark, and of your own self-empowerment. So it's not going on the outside and trying to make something happen when you're feeling this way. And often people can't even help you. So that's also why you might isolate yourselves when you're working the themes of the individual circuitry.